They tell you caring is a virtue, that it's noble to give and give until there's nothing left, that you're a good person because you lose sleep over people who don't even remember your name the next day. They dress it up real nice: compassion, kindness, empathy. But let's call it what it really is: an addiction. You care too much. And not in the sweet, gentle way the world likes to romanticize. No, you care like it's your job. Like the world might fall apart if you don't hold it together with both hands and a forced smile. They always say caring is noble, don't they? That it's the sign of a good heart, a pure soul, all that soft, golden nonsense people slap on mugs and hang on walls. But here's the dirty little secret no one wants to talk about. Most people don't care because they're kind. They care because they're scared. Scared to be rejected. Scared to be alone. Scared that if they stop bending over backwards for every thankless soul that passes through their life, they'll disappear. Because deep down they think their worth is measured by how many people need them, not by who they are when no one's looking. You see it all the time. The overthinkers, the overgivers, the ones who keep checking their phones hoping someone remembered their birthday without being reminded. They pour and pour until the cup's dry, then still say it's fine, I'm okay, with that cracked voice and that twitch in the eye. Caring too much. That's not kindness, that's survival in disguise. It's a mask, one of many. They wear it like armor, thinking it'll keep them safe. But it only keeps them exhausted. Because here's what happens. You care too much, and suddenly everyone's problems become your responsibility. Someone's sad? You fix it. Someone's on, well, you shrink. Someone disrespects you. You forgive. Again, and again, and again. Because the idea of standing up for yourself feels worse than the disrespect itself. Because if you say no, maybe they'll leave, and then what? Who are you without the people you prop like broken statues? You don't know. And that's the real tragedy. It's a dance, isn't it? Step 1, someone hurts you. Step 2, you justify it. They didn't mean it. They're just going through something. It's not that bad. Step 3, you stay. You care harder. You think if you love them just right, if you say all the right things and swallow every ounce of pain, they'll finally see you. They'll finally treat you right, but they don't. They just get used to the pattern. They know you won't walk away. Why would they change? And while you're sitting there analyzing every word, replaying every conversation like a broken film reel, they're out living, laughing, sleeping peacefully while you lose pieces of yourself to people who never even earned your vulnerability. But you can't stop. Because you think stopping makes you cold, makes you heartless, makes you like them. And being like them, that's your worst fear. So you keep caring. You keep breaking your own heart to keep the peace. But there is no peace. There's only silence and the weight of your own self-betrayal. They told you caring is strength. But how strong do you feel really when you're crying in secret because you don't want to be a burden? When you write paragraphs and delete them because you're scared of sounding too much? When you lie awake at night wondering what's wrong with you, why people don't treat you the way you treat them? That's not strength. That's fear dressed up like virtue. That's pain with a smile painted over it. And the world. Oh, the world loves people like you. Loves to chew them up and spit them out. Because you're easy. You don't ask for much. You don't make noise. You're the emotional janitor cleaning up everyone's messes while they walk around with clean hands and full hearts. But when you bleed, they call it drama. When you speak up, they call it attitude. When you finally draw a line, they call you selfish. So what do? You retreat. You go quiet. You start thinking maybe feeling this deeply is a curse. That maybe if you could just shut it all off, life would be easier. But you can't. So you care even more, trying to fix what caring too much broke in the first place. It's madness. A loop with no exit. Because the more you care, the more they take. And the more they take, the less of you there is. And no one ever thinks to stop and ask if you're okay. They just assume you are. Because you always are, right? People will take exactly what you let them. No more, no less. That's the rule of the game, the unspoken law of human nature they don't teach in school, but you learn it fast enough, usually the hard way. You think you're being generous, you think you're being loving, but all they see is a free ride. A doormat that says welcome in invisible ink and bleeds every time someone wipes their shoes on it. You let it happen. Over and over. And then you wonder why you feel used. You weren't being kind. You were being predictable. And predictable people are easy to manipulate. You give people the manual on how to treat you. Every time you bite your tongue, every time you smile through the insult, every time you answer that late night call or say yes when you wanted to scream no, you're still writing the rules. You're teaching them that your needs come last, that your time is optional, that your boundaries are just decorations you put up once a year like some sad little tree no one really cares about. And they learn fast. People always learn fast when it benefits them. Because here's the joke, you're waiting for someone to respect limits you never set. You keep hoping they'll change without consequences. You believe if you're just a little more patient, a little more forgiving, they'll finally see your worth. But why would they? They don't have to. You already gave them everything. And they didn't even have to ask. You just handed it over with a nervous smile, hoping they'd call it love. But love doesn't look like that. Love doesn't drain you. Love doesn't feel like anxiety and silence and tiptoeing through your own life like you're trespassing in someone else's home. You let it happen. Not because you're weak, but because you're wired to believe that loyalty means endurance. That putting up with pain is proof you care, but that's not love, that's programming. Somewhere along the line, someone taught you that being walked on was noble. That being the bigger person meant being the quieter one. That being good meant being available even when you're dying inside. And now you can't stop. Even when your gut screams. Even when your chest tightens. You keep showing up for people who wouldn't even cross the street for you. And the irony. When you finally get tired, when you finally stop answering, when you start saying no, when you stop more. Then suddenly they care. Then you're the bad guy. Then you're selfish. Because now you're messing with the system. You're breaking their comfortable little cycle. You're becoming unpredictable. And people hate that. They hate when the puppet cuts the strings and walks off stage in the middle of the performance. But what did they expect? How many times did they think you could smile while drowning? How many nights were you supposed to cry quietly so no one felt uncomfortable? How long were you going to keep your mouth shut just to keep the peace that never even existed? You gave them the world and they gave you excuses. You gave them loyalty and they gave you crumbs. And every time you took those crumbs with trembling hands and said thank you, you told them they were right. Because that's what they want you to believe, that it's your job to fix things, to absorb the pain, to never complain. That being strong means being silent. But that's not strength. That's surrender. And you weren't built to be used. You weren't put here to make everyone else comfortable at the cost of your own sanity. You let them take and take and take, and they will keep taking. As long as you let them. But there's this little moment, isn't there? That quiet shift. When the exhaustion turns to disgust. When the smile drops. When you stop explaining yourself and just stare, that's when it begins. That's when the rules start to change. Not because they chose to be better, but because you finally stopped playing nice. Because you finally understood that your peace is not a gift they get to unwrap whenever they feel like it. Your peace isn't up for negotiation. You don't owe them your exhaustion just to prove you're worth loving. And if you keep letting them take, they'll keep pretending they earned it. You keep giving. Your time, your energy, your sleep, your sanity. You give pieces of yourself away like candy at a parade, tossing them to whoever holds out their hands first. Smile here, agree there, apologize when it wasn't your fault. Fix problems you didn't create. Stay quiet to keep the peace that never included you in the first place. And at the end of the day, you lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, hollowed out, wondering why you feel so damn invisible when you did everything right. You were the helper, the healer, the strong one, the reliable one. The one they always call but never check on. And somewhere deep inside there's this little voice, this bitter, laughing whisper that says, you did this, and you don't want to hear it. But it's right. You made yourself disposable. You made sure they were okay while you fell apart behind closed doors. You wore your sacrifice like a badge of honor, convinced that being needed was the same as being loved. But it's not. Being needed means they'll call you when they're drowning. Being loved means they'll check if you're breathing. You've been everyone's life raft, but no one's ever thrown you a rope. Because you built your worth on being useful. You turned yourself into a tool in other people's toolboxes. Not a person, not a soul, just a means to an end. And when you stopped being useful, they stopped showing up. Poof. Vanished. Suddenly busy, suddenly cold, suddenly indifferent. You thought your loyalty bought you something real. But all it bought you was silence and a few unread messages. And yet you keep doing it. Why? Because the idea of being alone terrifies you more than the pain of being used. You think maybe this next person will be different. Maybe if you're just a little more understanding, a little more stoic. But people don't see past what you allow. They won't look deeper if the surface gives them everything they want. They won't question the free ride if you never ask for gas money. You keep handing out your light like it's infinite, not realizing you're dimming a little more each time. They take it, pocket it, and walk away. And then you sit there flickering in the dark, blaming yourself for not shining bright enough. But here's the truth: constant self-sacrifice isn't noble. It's self-erasure. It's slow-motion suicide of the spirit. You keep hoping someone will notice you're struggling without having to say it. But they won't, because they like you silent, they like you available, they like you pliable. And the moment you stop, they call you ungrateful, dramatic, difficult. Not because you changed, but because you stopped letting them step on you without flinching. It's not your job to carry people who refuse to walk. It's not your responsibility to heal wounds they enjoy scratching open. But no one ever told you that, did they? They just told you to be good, be kind, be nice. They forgot to mention the part where being nice gets twisted into being spineless. They forgot to say that. People love a giver, but they never love them enough to refill what they drain. They just drink and drink and drink and drink. And when there's nothing left, they call you broken and go find someone new. And you're still standing there, heart in your hands, wondering what went wrong. Wondering why love feels like a transaction, like you're always in debt. Wondering why the people you lift up are never there to catch you when you fall. You think maybe you're too much, or maybe not enough, but it's not you. It's the roles you keep playing in a game designed to leave you empty. They made you think your value was in what you could give, not who you are. And now you don't even remember who that is anymore. You lost yourself in the chaos of people pleasing, in the noise of always being fine. You buried your needs under layers of fake smiles and forced apologies. You stopped asking for help because every time you did, someone made you feel like it was too much. So you learned to suffer quietly, to smile through the pain, to disappear while standing right in front of them. And they let you. Because it's easier to love someone who doesn't ask for anything. Easier to need someone who never says no. Easier to forget someone who never ever noticed how people love to test you. Poke at you, prod at you, see just how much you'll take before you snap. It's like a game to them. A little social experiment. How far can they push you before your smile cracks? Before that nice, calm, collected version of you finally loses its grip. Oh, but you don't snap, do you? No, you take it. You take it because you were taught to. Conditioned like a dog with a shock collar, sit down, stay quiet, don't react. Because reacting makes you the problem, not the pain, not the disrespect, not the betrayal. No, it's you. Your reaction. That's the real issue, right? You see, the people around you, they've been watching, learning. Every time you forgave too quickly, laughed off the insult, let the lie slide, you were training them. Like little children feeding coins into a broken machine, they figured out what buttons to push, what tricks worked best. And the worst part, you taught them. You handed them the manual to your self-destruction and said, "Here, read it. Memorize it. Use it whenever you feel like it." And they did. Now they know that you'll come back no matter how far they push you. They know you'll understand, you'll forgive, you'll make excuses. They're just stressed. They didn't mean it. They're going through something. The golden ticket of toxic behavior justification. You wrap their abuse in pretty paper, slap on a bow of empathy, and hand it back to yourself like a gift, like you should be grateful for the pain, because it means you're growing. But it's not growth. It's corrosion. Quiet. Slow erosion of your standards, your peace, your dignity. And yet you keep showing up because maybe this time it'll be different. Maybe this time they'll appreciate you. Maybe they'll notice how much you give, how much you bend, how many pieces of yourself you've broken off just to make them feel whole. But they won't. Because why would they? You've already shown them that love means never having to apologize. That connection means never being held accountable. That family, friendship, romance, all of it comes without terms, without boundaries, without self-respect. You think you're being strong. You think enduring the pain makes you noble, but really you're just disappearing, bit by bit, and they don't even notice. Or maybe they do and they just don't care. Because people only care when the consequences of their actions become inconvenient. And as long as you keep playing your part, they get to play innocent. The victim even. Because the moment you try to set a boundary, the moment you raise your voice, suddenly you're the villain. Isn't that funny? No matter how much you've suffered, no matter how much you've swallowed, 1 ounce of rebellion and suddenly you're ungrateful. One step away from their circus and you're cold. Change, too much. But maybe that's what you need to be. Too much, too sharp, too aware. Because nice doesn't get you peace. It gets you pain wrapped in politeness. It gets you empty praise, broken promises, and the sound of your own voice echoing in a room full of people who only show up when they need something. But try telling them no, just once. Watch their smile slip. Watch how fast affection turns into accusation. Because they don't love you, not really. They love the version of you that bends. The version that makes their life easier. The version that sacrifices without complaint. Anything beyond that, that's not acceptable. That's not convenient. And you've been addicted to being needed. Trapped in the illusion that usefulness equals love. That as long as they come to you, even in crisis, even with lies in their eyes, it must mean you matter. But you don't matter to them. Not like you think. You're a function, a role, a resource. And resources don't get feelings. They don't get rest. They get used. Until they break. Until they rust. Until one day they wake up and realize that silence has replaced every voice they once thought cared. That the phone doesn't ring unless someone wants something. That birthdays get forgotten. That favors get remembered but only when unpaid. And then what? Then you sit in the dark, wondering if you imagined it all. If you were ever truly loved. If all the years you spent being good were worth anything at all. But here's the trick: you were always playing a part in someone else's story. Never the hero. Not even the sidekick. Just the background character. The one who's always there but never seen. Always helping, never helped. Always understanding, never understood. And they liked it that way because you made it easy. Because you let them, you walk into rooms and feel the shift, don't you? That subtle change in energy when you show up like they weren't expecting you to take up space. Like you've overstayed a welcome that was never really offered. But still you smile. Still you sit quietly in the corner pretending not to notice how they speak over you, around you, through you. You convince yourself it's just you being sensitive, just your imagination playing its little tricks again. But deep down, you always know they don't respect you. They never did. Because somewhere along the line you taught them not to. You said yes when you wanted to say no. You agreed when you should have walked away. You lowered your voice so they could raise theirs. And they liked that. They liked the version of you that didn't fight back. That didn't question. That didn't dare. So you became predictable, safe, easy to control. They built a cage out of your kindness and called it loyalty. And you decorated it with reason. with guilt, with every excuse in the book to justify being treated like you're something less than human. Funny how they never forget what you did wrong, but always seem to have amnesia about everything you did right. One mistake, and suddenly you're the villain in a story they wrote. But your loyalty, your sacrifices, the nights you didn't sleep, the times you stayed silent just to keep the peace, that's all erased. Vanished. Because it doesn't fit the narrative. The truth is, you've been giving people the kind of love they should have earned, and they've been cashing it like it's owed to them. And every time you try to speak up, every time you show a glimpse of a spine, here comes the gaslight parade. You're overreacting. You're too emotional. You need to chill. No, you don't need to chill. They need to stop poking the fire and acting surprised when it burns, but they won't. Because they've tasted your silence, and now they crave it. They've learned that you won't push back, that you'll apologize just to smooth things over, that you'll keep showing up for people who wouldn't cross the street for you if you were on fire. They've seen you bend, so they assume you'll break. But what they don't know is that all this bending has made you dangerous. Because every time you swallowed your truth, it didn't disappear. It collected, like storm clouds. And now you're thundering. But they don't want a storm. They want sunshine. The fake.